Amy, you've touched on it a little bit. Can you, I would like to, yeah, let me go back in. Amy, you've touched on it a couple times now. Maybe foreshadowing or talking around what may be actually happening. Can you talk about the benefits that you receive yourself from leading these workshops as you start? Because I hear your ties in nursing, and my mom was a lifelong nurse, so I was in that field, and she would give everything all the time and just a constant helper, and she would get fed off of that. So are you receiving the same internal benefits from facilitating as you were from nursing?
Yeah, well, first of all, I want to say that I've painted over 400 mandalas myself. So for me, it is an incredibly therapeutic process. And it is an opportunity for me to be so present and mindful in flow. And so it engages both the left and the right side of my brain. So I get really mindful. And in that space, you know, I lose all sense of time and space. It's a very bizarre thing. I will paint for hours and not even realize that hours have gone by. So I know how personally how powerful it is. But to watch people transform in a short period of time in just 2 hours is um, is so gratifying. And to to help people recognize things in themselves that they have never really recognized is just so powerful. And I know that what I'm doing is making a difference. And I I just feel like I feel like it's just one of the most wonderful experiences.
Purpose Chasers, welcome back to this episode. The woman that I have on today is really inspired me. I have attended a lot of workshops, I've seen a lot of workshops, but the workshop that she leads is one that when she was telling me about it, I was pushing her to attempt to do this virtual because I wanted to do it. And she was explaining to me that it was something that you had to experience face to face. I have Amy with me from Mandala Minds. You have inspired me so deeply with your workshops and the work that you're doing, specifically with little ones. Amy, can you kick this show off by talking about your career?
Oh, yeah. Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm a nurse and I've been a nurse for 32 years, but through my career, I've become a little bit more misaligned with the healthcare system, and I've decided that I wanted to help people in a more holistic fashion. So I took a couple of holistic nursing certifications and I started Mandala Minds and Wellness in March of 2024. And it's really an opportunity for me to bring people the connection between mind, body, and spirit, particularly focusing on mental health, which is what I'm most passionate about. And so what I do is I use mandalas or mandala, however you want to say it. I use them to help people calm their nervous system, get more centered and present and mindful. And then we get into a creative process of creating these mandalas, and it really opens up a lot of things, hope, possibilities, the creative spark that a lot of people don't even believe that they have. And so mandalas are just really, really powerful instruments and tools to help people move through grief or anxiety or depression or whatever they're going through. So yeah, that's pretty much what I do.
The shortest interview in the world. No, I'm just kidding, listeners. Can you explain to anyone who may not know what a mandala is, what it actually is?
Yeah, so a mandala just means circle in Sanskrit, And most of us recognize them as these symmetrical patterns that we see everywhere. So, like in church cathedrals, or a lot of almost every home that I go into has some sort of mandala on their wall, some circular feature that brings soothing and calming. And so mandalas have been used for centuries across cultures and communities as this kind of it's something that represents wholeness and balance. We recognize it. We recognize the circular shape, and particularly when there's symmetry involved as sort of a it's like it represents wholeness and protection and centering. And you've they were used primarily in the um, Eastern tradition, so Buddhism, Hinduism, but you can also see them in Native Americans, Australian Aboriginal art. You can see them in Europe everywhere, architectural designs. But not only that, the mandala is they're everywhere. You know, they're in the cosmos, the sun, the moon, the flowers, even our cellular makeup. Our cells are little mandalas. And so I think because it is such a universal shape that we all recognize it. And it's part of like this collective consciousness or unconsciousness. We're not even conscious of it. So we recognize it and find solace in them. So yeah, and when you create them, you really feel like you're part of this universal process. It's really beautiful.
So somebody attends one of your workshops, they're coming there to paint.
Yeah, so it's funny. I'm teaching people how to dot paint, and I use acrylic paints with dotting tools, and that just happens to be the medium that I like. But you can there's two different kinds of mandalas. There's a free form mandala, and then there's a symmetrical mandala. So the free form mandala really gives people an opportunity to express their unconscious, and then the symmetrical mandala is a way to really organize a chaotic brain and become mindful and present. So when people come to my classes, they're often coming because they want to learn how to dot paint, or they just want to do something different with friends and creative endeavors. So sort of like, there are many people that come thinking it's sort of like a sip and paint without the sipping. And but the funny thing is that that's when they come in, they and I talk about the mandala. People start to realize, oh, this is not just dot painting, that this is so much more. And most people through the journey, they feel the transformation within themselves from the start of the class to the end of the class, and it's really beautiful. It's really beautiful to see people go from anxiety, hesitancy, not knowing, to by the time they leave, they feel like, oh my gosh, I just created something really beautiful. I am capable. I did feel calmer when I did it. And then they return, and then they'll come back for, I do specialized mandala classes. So I'll do like a Celtic knot, or like next month I have a butterflies class. I did a seed of life, which is using sacred geometry. So there's opportunities for people to learn the technique. They can do it at home, or they can come back and take more classes. And then a lot of times people will also experience it and then want to offer it to their friends. So I'll go to their venue, their home, and offer the class to groups of people, and just keep kind of spreading this magic with everyone. So um, yeah, that's pretty much the how it works.
It was a really good explanation. The dot painting, I wasn't aware of, like that was the specific modality that you taught, but now that I'm thinking about it, it makes perfect sense. Can you walk me through somebody who's never attended one of your workshops, the mind-body connection that you see take place amongst your participants? Are you leading them through any visualization? Is there music playing, or is it just here's your instructions, dot paint?
Yeah. So when people come in, I mean, I'll give you the play by play. When people come in, the first thing we need to do is choose colors. And that's very sort of comical to me. It's a little bit of a chaotic event because people are like, I don't know what colors. It's like looking at this huge palette of colors and not knowing what to choose. And so that's their first choice. They have to choose 3 to 6 colors. And then we sit down once we're all settled, and I talk about my story and why I'm interested in this. And then I talk about the history of mandalas, similar to what I said to you. And then we introduce each other and just say, what drew us to this class so that people get familiar with one another. And then I talk about there's 3 things that I see in every class. And so I make sure I mention them. And I'll mention them here too, because it's really fascinating. The first one is it's an opportunity to let go of perfectionism and control, which most of us have a difficult time doing. And so people get really wrapped up in, oh my gosh, I didn't put my dot in the right spot, or oh my gosh, my circle's not perfect. And so right up front, I will tell people this is an opportunity for you to just let that go because the mandalas are super forgiving when you hold them away. You can't really even see any imperfections. So it's really beautiful. And then the second thing is that I encourage people to love their own mandala as much as they love others, because in every class, everyone's just in awe of each other's, but they're not appreciating their own. So that's a similar concept for self-love. And then the last thing that I always mention is that they don't know what their mandala is going to look like, and it just evolves through a series of choices that we make. So we pick our colors, then we choose where to put one dot and where to put another dot and what color we're going to use. And before you know it, they've created this beautiful design that's kind of similar to the choices in our lives, right? Every choice that we make leads us on a journey and a path in our life. I never expected to be where I am today when I was 20 years old, but every choice I made led me here. So we talk about that. And then I literally, particularly in the introductory class, I will lead people tool by tool, dot by dot. I will tell them which tool to pick and where to put their dot, and they will still come out completely different from each other's. And so as we go through this process, it only takes for the intro class, it takes like an hour and a half to get through all the rings of the mandala. And then at the end, everyone just sort of celebrates what they've created, and we take pictures, and that's usually the end of the class. So yeah,
It's interesting to me that you shared picking colors was the most difficult part. Like, and I was experiencing something similar last night at the end of a breathwork session that I attended, where these two individuals were talking, and I could relate so much. So I'm not talking holier than thou at all, but they were discussing on their judgment of whether or not they had the right breath pattern. And in my head, I'm like, or head or conscious, subconscious, I was like, well, you shouldn't be, that's not the experience of breath work. You should be experiencing what you're experiencing and not focused on your breath. But as human, like I did it multiple times last night. Like, oh, I'm out of flow. I'm out of flow. Like, what? Like, go back to where you just were. That's funny. Have you ever picked colors for guests?
I try not to, but people who are really having a difficult time, I will guide them a little bit. And every once in a while I'll just be like, why don't we add this color to the colors that you like? I do have these really cool color cubes that have color palettes on it, and those have been really helpful for people. They can look through the cards and get ideas about what color combinations they might like. So yeah, I try not to, but then, I have had some funny situations where people are so struggling, and then somebody they've never met will like just pick out all the colors from the clothes that they're wearing and be like, these are your colors tonight. But it's the first choice, right? It's the first choice, and you feel like you're fully committed. And what if you pick the wrong colors? I've never seen a bad color combination. So, uh, and and I love that you brought up the word flow with your breath work because that is really what we're trying to get into that flow state where it's just happening and we're not overthinking and we're just getting into that flow and trusting our instinct. And all of this relates to the mind body spirit connection because when you're overthinking or overwhelmed or stressed out or depressed or grieving or angry, that impacts everything. And I find that in little snippets of doing this, we can really try to give ourselves forgiveness and an opportunity to just get into that flow state and trust ourselves. And so there's just so many metaphors packed into the process that I like to talk about in the class.
I'm curious, Amy, and I'm sure somebody else is. You're a traveling nurse. Like you were compensated. You were and are compensated very, very well, right? Am I wrong?
Well, I was only a travel nurse for a year.
But
And
in nursing, in
yes,
in general,
yeah,
you could make a career. You could be a simple woman who goes to work and comes home and does maybe bingo or whatever. I'm just saying, like whatever it is that you do, you could have a simple life, but yet you had this inner calling to do something more, to launch this business in tandem with your career.
yeah.
How long did you sit with that nudge to do something more before you took the action that you took to start it?
So I'm an OB labor and delivery nurse, and I've done some hospice work. And I'd say probably about 10 or 12 years ago, I had a really bad outcome at work, and it changed me. I've always had fear in nursing about hurting someone. I'm there to help them. So um, I know that how easy it is to make a mistake at the bedside, and so I was always worried about that, or worried about things that I couldn't control, somebody coming in an emergent situation. And that was very unsettling for me. And after that bad outcome, I was just hyper aware of my vulnerability in that space. And I also felt like in many situations we weren't serving our patients as well as we could because of all of the demands on the healthcare staff. And it was virtually impossible for the staff to really give the care that they wanted to give and the patients to receive the care that they wanted to receive. So I'd say for about 10 years, I've really struggled with this. And so I did feel like this wasn't the space for me. And really trying to figure out different ways that I can still make an impact, but not be in that uncomfortable space of fear. And it just kept getting louder and louder and louder. And
You had a lot tied up into it, right? You have a lot of education, a lot of training and credentialing, and just a lot of money and time that goes
yeah.
into getting. I know this as having a master's degree in social work, and like when you get credentialed, all the work to get up there, and then when you leave, it's like, well, I just wasted that entire degree and all that, da, 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 and all the stories came in for me.
Yeah, no, I don't feel that even a second of all of that nursing has gone to waste. It's part of what made me who I am, and I'm still very, very proud of being a nurse. And I still will work per diem. It's not my chosen space to be in. I much prefer doing this. But I still love helping people. So yeah, I I'm very grateful for my nursing career. I think it's developed me in a way. I've seen things that most people, the general population don't ever get to see. I've been in intimate moments where people are having their babies or someone's passing away, and not many people get that privilege to be at the bedside during that. I'm very, very honored and privileged to see really major life transitions of birth and death. And uh, that's something that the general population hasn't had that privilege to see that. And I'm so grateful for that. But I think that being in those moments of, life coming in and life leaving, that I gained spirituality. I was never raised with a religion. So my religion has come from all of these experiences, or I don't even want to say religion, but my spirituality has come from that because there's things that I've seen that I can't explain. And so I think that spirituality has really come to me through my nursing career and has really propelled me into wanting to do this. So I love that I'm a nurse, but I just don't feel like I'm effective. I also have a significant hearing deficit, which makes it difficult for me in the healthcare arena. So that's another thing that I have to think about when I'm in those environments. So,
I know a lot of individuals are in what is only referred to as the waiting place, right? That's Dr. Seuss referred to it in Oh, the Places We Will Go, is the waiting place. The lobby of wanting to take action, being so uncomfortable with where you're currently living in your current circumstances, being called to do something and not taking action because of the amount of fear that stacks up against you. Can you share what it's like being on the other side of that and starting to step into and stepping into what you've been called to do?
it has been one of the most challenging, but one of the most empowering journeys that I've embarked upon, in that I'm the self-development and growth and leaning into, like basically jumping off a cliff is terrifying, but I don't regret it for a second. Even even though I know that I still want to be over there, right? But I'm enjoying the journey and I'm developing and learning. I mean, even just being on camera, um, I I used to be terrified to even just take a video of myself and put it out there. And now that's not quite such a big deal. So constantly leaning into those things that make me uncomfortable, it's it's really empowering to know that I can do uncomfortable things, and who knows what's going to happen, and trusting the process. So um, I think a lot of people don't take those steps, and I'm proud of myself for listening to that inner scream, which was, you don't want to be a bedside nurse anymore, and you really want to do this other thing, has alleviated a huge amount of depression for me because I'm finally honoring myself and not trying to constantly do what other people expect of me. And so that's just gold. That's gold for me. But it's hard. It is hard, but I love it.
Amy, thank you so much for taking the time to come on. And I know you're uncomfortable, and because I talked to you about coming on originally when I talked to you way back, and then followed up with you and you said yes. So thank you. If you walked through fear to come here, I'm so grateful for the work that you're doing, and it's truly inspiring. I want to take one and go through one of these workshops with you. Like
I would love that.
it
I would
sounds
love.
cool. And if you ever do them virtual, I'd be over here with my easel.
Yeah, yeah, of course. Of course.
Amy, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. I appreciate your time.